There's a new book that is helping you to overcome challenges and live your best life, and the author knows a thing or two about it.
Yeah, tell me about it. We are joined this morning by disability advocate, author, and motivational speaker Spencer West with more about the incredible journey in his life that he is now showing to your 4 million followers on TikTok and now also in the form of this book. Good morning, Spencer.
Hi,
Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you. The main thing I take away from just your experiences in life are that we have first world problems. And anytime I fix my face to complain about something, I think of Spencer West.
Yeah.
Big picture.
Well, that's very kind. That's sort of, the idea of this book is, although I'm queer and disabled, I think a lot of our experiences we can learn from one another. And that's sort of what I wanted to do with my book is share a bit of my story, but in the process, use my story to provide some lessons that can help everyone. So at the end of every chapter, I've created some questions and some exercises for people to do. So it's not just a cool story about me, although that is part of it.
You are cool.
The other part is I wanted it to be relatable to everyone else as well.
So, for folks that don't know your story, you lost your legs when you were a child because of a genetic disorder, but you climbed Mount Kilimanjaro despite that. I'm curious, was there a point in your life, do you remember a point in your life when you decided, these barriers that we put up for ourselves, they're literally they're in our imagination, they're not real?
Yeah, I mean, as a disabled person, unfortunately there are barriers that do exist that are real. But one of the things that I think is important for us to understand is to start listening to our heart and trusting our gut and what we want, not listening to the expectations of others. For me, I was told that I should be just like everyone else, and I'm not like everyone else. I don't have any legs and I use a wheelchair. But I use that to my advantage. Kilimanjaro is a good example. Although I'm not the first disabled person to climb Kilimanjaro, I'm not the last. One of the reasons I wanted to do it is there was a purpose behind it. We wanted to raise $500,000 for clean water. So we all have that capacity and that ability to turn passion into purpose. And it's just listening to that voice inside.
I think, I mentioned you said you're not like a lot of people. And I would say that's also because, I think we limit ourselves. I think in many cases we set our own barriers just because out of various reasons. Have you found in all your work that you've done, is there a common thread that stops people, that keeps us from accomplishing what we set out to accomplish?
Yeah, I think there's always like a little bit of fear, right, of the unknown or not knowing how things are going to turn out. That's very much been the case for me as well. But I think there's this idea of having self-trust, this idea that being able to listen to what's inside and the self-confidence to know that and believe that you can actually do it. And so it's leaning into that and letting go of that fear. And part of that is like doing things that bring you joy and that also, do good for the world at the same time.
So part of the title of your book, Breaking Free, but it also says stop following expectations and start following yourself. How do you, motivate someone to think outside of the box that they've been placed in? Because it's very easy to just fall back on, oh, well, I've been typecasted this way, so this is what I should be doing.
Totally. I think so often expectations are placed on us of like, this is who you should love. This is the job you should have. This is what success looks like. And if we stop looking at those and start wondering what else our life could be like, or asking ourselves, how did I get here? And where do I want to go? Or this idea of like, how am I holding back? What are some spaces that I'm in that I'm holding back that I could be speaking up in? It's starting to identify those questions. And when you can start to answer those, you start to understand, oh, here's how I can break out of the mold that I'm in. Here's how I can break out of the situation that I'm in. But it's understanding what those expectations are to then move past them.
Before you did it, did the idea of writing a book seem like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro? Like, that seems like a monumental task.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It was a huge task, but I have an incredible co-author named Blake who was there to sort of help guide me and craft everything. I knew the idea of what I wanted to say, but to put it all together, I need help, just like everyone. That's also a big part of the book is we all need to ask for help. So yeah, it was monumental and it was definitely this version of Kilimanjaro.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Breaking Free comes out May 12th. You can get the book wherever you buy your books. And also, please, if you're not already following Spencer West on social media, do so. TikTok as we mentioned, millions of followers also on Instagram. And Spencer, you are so transparent about all the questions that people have that they ask of you, and you share them on your social media as well. So I'm telling you, it's a great follow. Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Such
you
a
for the
good
inspiration
human.
this morning,
Absolutely.
too. Thank you, Spencer.